Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. If you need a website, do it yourself with Squarespace. Hey, what's up guys? Chris Jr. here for Kriscoart. Today we're talking about sound and we're going to be exploring different ways to just get a nice cinematic sounding sound design and how that can improve the overall production value of your next project. So sound is great, sound is really important and crucial for your film, and I'm sure you've noticed by now that people can be pretty forgiving in terms of some okay visuals, but when it comes to bad sound, that just stands out and it takes people out right away. That's why it's really important to have really good sound, and today we're going to be talking about more of the technical side of what you can do in post. But before we jump right into that, I just want to mention a few things that you can do while you are on set during production, what you can do as far as sound and how that can help you out when you're doing things later on. So when you're on location, try to capture as much sound as you can. Try to get whatever you need while you're on location, whether it's footsteps or even you going around set with a microphone or a recorder and capturing certain sounds, recreating certain sounds yourself, and just get coverage as far as sounds so that later on when you're assembling and you're making your sound design, you have everything that you need. I'm going to be saying sound a lot. I'm just going to point that out so that we're okay with it. So you want to be close to the source, but sometimes you actually might want to get some production audio that is already a little bit dirty. There's certain moments and just certain times where I think that getting the real thing and the authentic sound of the location, of the space, can be just a lot better in terms of quality, and it can make your life so much easier. So for example, in the beginning of the sequence that you saw in last week's video, we have a man just walking up to his car and we hear his footsteps in this space. So they're very echoey, there's a lot of reverb. I wanted the real texture and sound of those footsteps from that location. And speaking of authenticity, one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we would do when we were shooting that opening sequence was to get the real sound and the real character of the engine of the car. And if you're wondering how do you record a really fast moving car, turns out all you need to do is just ziplock a recorder on the bumper, and that gave us the best sound. If you tighten it enough, it's pretty secure and you get the sound right close to the source, which in the car are the exhaust pipes. Alright, I'm going to stop talking about production side of audio because I actually want to save that for tomorrow's video. But today, we're starting a little bit backwards. Let's say we have all of that material. We're just going to be looking at the technical side of things into Premiere and just a few basic things that you can do, such as equalizing, adding reverb, panning your sounds, layering your sounds. What else am I missing? That kind of stuff, which is very basic, but that can really improve the quality of your sound design. So let's jump into Premiere and let's get that started. The very first one that we're going to be talking about is reverb. And reverb can be really effective, like I mentioned in the beginning, to kind of really establish the location that you're in and make your sounds fit more into your scene. What I mean by that is, let's take this scene for example, where I'm just flipping some pages. It sounds really close to us, to our ears, because it's really close to the microphone. And it's recorded well, and it's a clean sound, but it doesn't sound quite right. And that's because we need to add a little bit of reverb and modify it a little bit to fit the environment that we're in. So it sounds more like a cave or a hall instead of a room, but that's just to give you an idea on what reverb can do. Even right into Premiere, you can already get some pretty decent effects and make it feel like it's more in that environment that we're seeing.
In and out, boys. Let's make this quick.
And one way that I use reverb a lot, instead of just using it to match sounds to the environment, is also using it as a bit of a transition effect. So if we're going from one scene to the next, sometimes I'll have certain sounds kind of bleed through in the next scene with a little bit of reverb. And usually what I have to do is I have to nest that sound. Then I go inside of that nested sequence, cut a piece of the sound that I don't need and push it a little bit forward so that our nested sequence is longer than just the duration of the sound. And then back in our main sequence, you can add some reverb, make sure that you're not hearing that last tail end of the sound that we cut and moved. And this way, the reverb won't just cut off when the sound ends, but because it's a nested sequence, it'll kind of carry through. And this is really effective, I think, when you're going from one scene to the next, one shot to the next, and you kind of want to make it a little bit smoother, and sound can help you do that. To really understand EQing and how to really effectively EQ a sound or multiple sounds, it's important to understand that sounds come in a spectrum of frequencies. So you have your low end, your mids, and your high end of that sound. And applying an equalizer to that sound means that you have full control over those frequencies. If you have different sounds stacked together and layered on top of each other in your timeline, you want to make sure that they're not competing too much with each other, that they're not overwhelming each other. And it's very similar to music. If you have, for example, a bass line, you want to make sure it comes in nice and punchy and clear. You might want to take out the bass or the lower frequencies of other sounds in order to give more room for that bass line to come in. And that is exactly what we're doing here. So what you're seeing me do is I'm just running through these few sounds that are layered on top of each other. So that is EQing, which is a very technically easy thing to do as far as, pushing frequencies up and down. But what is really kind of tricky is training your ears to really tell when a sound needs certain frequencies boosted or taken out. Now, there's another way that you can make room in a way as far as sound, and that is with panning. So we talked about how you can take out certain frequencies to make room for other sounds to come in a little bit more clear. Well, you can do the same thing with panning. You can make room by literally shifting sounds from your left speaker to your right speaker and just really kind of separating them out from the center, when of course the visuals that you're seeing call for that. And this isn't just used to make room, but it's also used to make your sound feel a little bit more three-dimensional and lifelike, because we are interpreting life through our two set of ears, and all the sounds that come into us are processed that way. So we're always channeling things from left to right.
Hey, quit playing around and put the money in the fucking bag.
So it's really great to take advantage of that and to pan certain sounds depending on what you see.
Damn.
So for example, in this scene, we have a shot of the tire, which is very centered, but then we cut to a wider shot and we see that we go from the front tire and we kind of pan over with the camera to the back tire. And if you pay close attention to the sound, you can hear two separate tire spinning sounds. So the front tire has its own sound, and once we pan away from it, the sound also pans away towards the left off screen, and then the other sound for the back tire gets introduced to us by panning from right to center. So there are a lot of other built-in sound effects into Premiere, but the one that I use the most is probably the treble effect. So in this scene, for example, we hear the car start up. After he revs the engine a few times, we start to hear the sound go increasingly muffled. And this is again to kind of build that anticipation, because this is the first time that we're hearing the car, so we don't really get a full sense of what the car sounds because it gets muffled almost immediately. So that kind of creates a bit of curiosity to what the car engine will sound once it's fully revved up and it's accelerating out of this garage. And then we hear the full sound of the engine, and by contrast, even that alone creates more impact and more power. That's just one example of how you can use certain effects and really modulate the sound. If you believe enough in what I do and you haven't already, consider donating on Patreon to support the channel, and you get some awesome perks as well as being able to download some of the project files and some of the footage that I use. So this way you can get to kind of practice a little bit with this sequence, insert your own sounds, and once you play around you have something, feel free to send it to me. And also thanks again so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you even just go and check out the designs that they have, the templates, they all look great and modern, which is really important and crucial when you're trying to promote your brand. You definitely don't want to stay behind as far as design and the look of your website, as well as the functionality, because Squarespace can really offer all of that in one package to have great customer service. And what's great about it is that no coding is needed. You can just literally click and drag, move things around, and build your own website in a quick and easy way. So go check out Squarespace. I'm going to leave a link in the description so you can go there, you can sign up, you can even start a free trial and see how you like it. Alright, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something new on sound. And if you did, consider giving this video a like and subscribing if this is your first time watching videos on my channel. I usually make filmmaking, visual effects, and short films kind of stuff. So if that's your sort of thing, definitely stay tuned because there are a lot of new exciting things coming. Alright, my name is Chris for Kriscoart, and I will see you next time.